Green Suigi has done it again.
Let's go!
No.
Nice.
Understand the concept of love. Understand the concept of love.
Wow! Dude, let's go! I'm done! I'm fucking done!
GG, say it back! Say it back right now! GG, bitch!
Speedrunning. You've probably heard or seen something related to it. A worldwide competition to see who can beat the game as fast as possible, requiring a mastery of all knowledge and skills about a game. Or perhaps you've seen marathons or events where speedrunners perform the most complicated tricks in front of a live audience. And when I first heard of speedrunning back when I was a young warthog, I was in awe of this premise. I was also delightfully devilish and wanted to be the best at Mario Kart Wii out of all my friends, and happened to stumble upon speedruns and time trials. I grew up watching people like Nmead and TWD98, and while I learned a lot from them, I never really took the step to actually try speedrunning or anything like that. Fast forward to June of 2020, fresh out of high school, ready to go to college, and oh yeah, that's probably not good. So I got this laptop for the fall semester, and my friend helped me set up what was called Dolphin Emulator so I could play old GameCube games I had as a kid. One of these games was this super niche game called Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights. I remember this game being an ordeal to get through, and the first boss was one of the hardest hurdles in the game. And so bracing for impact, I was excited for the days I would spend cooped up in my house playing this nostalgic classic. And then I beat it in 8 hours.
That's it?
Yep, I clocked in, did a 9 to 5, and I clocked out. And while I was happy to see how much better I got at playing video games meant for children, I was left a little unsatisfied. I wanted to play it more, but there was nothing left for me to do. I think as a joke, my friend and I looked up speedruns of the game, and that's when I found this. At the time, this was the world record run for the game by a runner named Baz. And you may think it's rather funny how he's just filming his TV with his phone or something, and it's fine, I did too. Later found out that the community called this the potato cam. But I started to actually look at the run, and I was amazed at some of the skips he made to beat the game in less than 30 minutes. A spark was ignited in me. I just discovered a cool new way of playing a game that I love in a way that wasn't even intended. On June 30th is when I posted my first video ever to YouTube, really starting this channel and becoming a speedrunner. And I speedran the game for basically 3 years straight. I learned a lot and met a lot of great people from all over the world, and I started making videos about the game in general, which then inspired me to make the content you see me posting to this channel today. But Coley, I hear you say, there's no way I could ever get into speedrunning and try it myself. But you can. In fact, I think it's something that everyone can do. Most people seem to hesitate trying to get into speedrunning for 3 reasons. 1 is that they don't have time to do it. 2 is that it's too difficult. And 3 is a belief that they do not have the proper attitudes or skills to meet the requirements. Some of you may even think multiple of these reasons are variations of it, but I'm going to show you that all of these reasons are nothing to be worried about, and you are missing out on a hobby that might actually be the perfect fit for you. But there's something we need to discuss before I give my rebuttal to these problems. See, I feel like there's a myth behind what speedrunning actually is, and you might believe this myth is true, which then gives birth to these reasons why you shouldn't try it. See, when it comes to what you hear about speedrunning, you usually hear the extremes of the hobby. You probably see it on your homepage: world record history videos, speedrun marathons and showcases, fierce competitions, and long hours of grinding to achieve perfection. But these things make up such a small percentage of what speedrunning is, and these things aren't necessarily bad per se, but if this is what you think speedrunning exclusively is, then you need to get that out of your head. These videos are made and shared because they are the extreme or glamorous side to speedrunning. This is what gets the clicks and the views on the YouTube. What you need to understand is what I'm calling the heart of speedrunning. And the heart of speedrunning is a strong love or interest for a game. This is truly why most people speedrun. It's a hobby, but a unique hobby where you can interact with these games you love in a unique way. So if you're watching this and get nothing else out of it, just please remember this point about the heart of speedrunning. So, number 1, speedrunning just looks too difficult. And to be fair, Speedrunning can be a challenge. Some speed games are easier to get into than others, but in most speed games, the run is only as difficult as you make it. Usually in a more established speedrun community, there will be a beginner route, which teaches you the fundamentals of the game and allows you to implement harder tricks and riskier strats over time. But don't let this intimidate you, because you can go at whatever pace you want until you're ready to pursue the more difficult stuff. Heck, I mean, sometimes the beginner route doesn't even have all of the easiest strats, and if you really wanted to, you could ask about the easier options from other runners. Again, it's not like you're gonna start off doing exactly what the world record holder is doing, and I bet my 401k that they didn't start with that route either. If I had one. If you've already beaten the game once casually, then that's usually as hard as it can possibly be at the start.
Number 2.
I don't have the skills or whatever to do this kind of stuff. Whether it be a lack of discipline, patience, etc. This reason is different from something being too difficult. It's more of a matter of doing something repeatedly over a period of time, or something adjacent to that. And to be fair, yeah, running the game can be kind of repetitive if you're a more established runner. I'm like 99% positive the route you do at the start will not have a trick that requires you to have special genetics or something. Also, very rarely is a speedrun the exact same kind of thing over and over. Usually there are different kinds of things to practice, each with their own little distinctions that accomplish their own goals. So if you're ever sick of doing one certain thing in a speedrun, then you can just move on to something else. But either way, remember the heart of speedrunning. Ideally, you are having fun just playing the game in a new way. This shouldn't feel like work or an ordeal. I have met some of the most undisciplined or impatient people ever who also speedrun because they think it's fun. So you really don't need any set of skills starting out so long as you can just try. But if you really feel like you don't have something in your skill set, speedrunning is the perfect place to build some of those if you want to. Skills are like muscles that we work out over time, and speedrunning is a controlled environment in which you can control how much you practice something. So finally,
Number 3.
and this is probably the biggest reason, I don't have the time. I believe that this reason is born directly from the myth of speedrunning being super competitive, and you see people just spending hours upon hours grinding. You don't need to do this, and rarely does anyone actually do that. This may seem like a cruel point I'm about to make, but I believe for most people, most people we actually do have time to do the things we want. You just need to make the time, and that's the biggest resistance. But either way, remember the heart of speedrunning. If you just want to be part of a community and interact with the game in a new and fun way, you don't need to labor over hours of practice and attempts. Sorry, I feel like I'm being a little repetitive, but this again is the main point here. It shouldn't feel like a hurdle at all to try speedrunning and to be part of the community, because it should just be something you feel joy in doing. But if you're still on the fence in regards to time, let's dive a little deeper. One thing that can directly influence how much time you spend speedrunning is the length of the run itself. Some runs are insanely short, and some are like, holy shit, how long? So you can pick a run that is shorter in length. But Coley, I really want to run Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Chain Attack Damage. Okay, first of all, if you want to speedrun that game because you love it, I already know you got the free time to do it. But seriously, what if you do want to run a game that is longer and you have no other interest in another speed game right now? Well, there's a few things. One is that games have different categories or speedruns of individual levels, normally called ILs, where the times can vary in length. So boom, there you go. You can just pick whatever you want that fits best within your schedule. But if that isn't an option, then just set a certain time in which you'd practice the run or do a part of the speedrun for a little bit. Half an hour, an hour. Hell, you can even Pomodoro it if you want to. Study for 45 minutes, practice the speedrun for 15, whatever works best for you. Because the best part about speedrunning is just having fun playing the game and interacting with the community. So after hearing these rebuttals, you might think, okay, well, what are the reasons to speedrun? Give me a little more than this hippy-dippy heart of speedrunning crap. Why even bother trying to speedrun?
Because it's fucking awesome. Super fast, do crazy looking shit. Go, yahoo! Blast off into fucking outer space. Do a magical teleport. Check it out. One more time. Yeah, going super fat. Hey, Link, the game's over there. We golf. More like we golfing like Jesus. I'm just here playing my favorite video game. Am I hallucinating? Did I take too many Percocets? Is this the apocalypse? Is this the rapture? Oh my god, he just saved a millisecond of time. I think I'm in heaven.
Excuse me. So, these are loaded questions with a lot of different answers. So to really simplify it, I'm going to separate these reasons into two categories, the communal reasons and the competitive reasons. The communal reasons are why a lot of people speedrun in the first place. Speedrunning allows people to interact with the game they love in a totally new and interesting way, not only on their own, but also through a community. You get to meet people who love a game or find it as interesting as you do from literally all over the world. You also see that a speedrun community does not only consist of runners. Those are just usually the people you see the most. There are glitch hunters, routers, modders, data miners, archivists, taskers. Many of these people also fill multiple roles as well. For example, the games I play, I'm usually a runner and a glitch hunter, but I've also been trying to learn how to mod lately too. The best moments in all of speedrunning, in my personal opinion, are when something is discovered because of the works of different community members. Let me give you an example from Scooby for a sec here. There was a runner from many years ago named Cooper Crisp who somehow clipped through this water and void warped back into the level and reached this door early. Many people tried to recreate it, but they never could. Fast forward many years later in 2020 when Sam, a runner and an archivist, accidentally clipped through the water here. Sam remembered seeing a clip of Cooper doing this as well. However, the difference was Sam was playing on the PAL version of the game and clipped in a completely different spot. What no one could still understand though was why it was so inconsistent. Then in 2021, myself and Mortal, another runner and glitch hunter, discovered that water changes depending on if you load the level fresh compared to when you respawn after a death. So if you haven't already died in the level and you get to the spot at the right time, you will clip through the water. This was huge. But then Mortal found a way to clip in the same exact spot on the NTSC version that was significantly harder to do, so no one actually tried. But someone was secretly trying it. And to everyone's shock, a runner named Nestani performed the trick in the run and got a world record from under everyone's noses. He used a metronome to literally time out beat for beat where he was supposed to be and when. So me and other runners were then scrambling to learn the trick and start doing it in our own runs. But then one night I was goofing around in the level and I accidentally fell right here. And I noticed Scooby slid like this, which indicates that he almost clipped through the water. So I kept toying around with it and eventually clipped through the water like it was butter. It's super consistent and all you have to do is wait for this crab to reach the barrel and then fall right through. So I guess this is a biased example since I was involved toward the end, but look at how many people were involved in just this. All of these events took place in over a large period of time and each community member helped build it all up to what we have today. I wouldn't have figured out this crazy shit if all these other people hadn't done what they did. The super ultra top speedrunners can only do so much on their own to build a community and to keep a speedrun alive. The passionate hobbyists are the cornerstones of speedrunning. It's these kinds of people that gave way to the speedrunning culture we see today. Additionally, community events, large and small, are often another draw for people. A lot of people enjoy racing each other in certain categories, or I'm sure you heard of randomizers, or bingo, let's go bingo! Sometimes there are larger events like modding challenges or relay races that span across the entire community. Some games even create a whole other leaderboard called category extensions where you'll find all the meme and challenge categories. In Frights, there's a category called Dance Pad where you have to beat the game with a dance pad. Or Margaret Thatcher %. Yeah, that's just where we run around and kill every wicked witch in the game. There are so many fun ways to play a game alongside other people or on your own through speedrunning and its community. Now, for me, joining a speedrunning Discord was the first time I ever chatted with people online. And it was pretty intimidating just to say hello in this random place. It felt like going to a new lunch table halfway through the school year. And if you feel the same way, that's okay, because speedrunning is probably one of the most inclusive places ever. The hardest part for me was just taking that first step and saying hello. And then I just listened closely and was as polite as possible. You eventually warm up to certain people, you start to mellow out, and you become more comfortable with the social environment. You gotta remember that everyone else started this way too. So personally, when I see someone new running the game, I try and be as nice and welcoming as others had been to me. I know a lot of other established runners that feel the same way. So, The competitive reasons usually apply if you're a runner, but it's important not to get these reasons confused with the myths of speedrunning. What I mean by competitive here is the fun of competition or improving yourself. It's really fun and rewarding to see yourself improve at something and see how much better you've become. It's like your whole life. You learn skills over time and you become better at them, but it happens so gradually, it can be hard to actually see just how much better you've gotten. It's like practicing a sport or playing an instrument. But speedrunning is practically engineered to show this growth in the clearest way possible. At the most basic level of speedrunning, you are timing yourself to see if you're better or worse overall. If you have splits for each segment of the game, that's even better because now you can see how you improve in every part of the game instead of just the whole. And when you submit runs over time, you can just see how much progress you've made by how much faster you've become. This is especially the case at the start where you're likely saving minutes of time. Additionally, speedrunning can teach you how to learn. And some of you might be saying, Coley, what the fuck are you talking about? But let me explain. Imagine you're in a classroom and you're actually being a good student and listening to the teacher's lecture, but this teacher just sounds like they're yapping to you, even though you were doing exactly what they told you to do. Sit and listen. You don't feel like you're learning anything, but then you read the textbook or you look up a YouTube video about it, and then you start understanding the material. You just discovered the best way to learn new things for you. The same applies to this. Many speedruns have guides or tutorials, which we'll talk about later, but they can only exposit so much information to help you. In the end, it's up to you whether or not you can learn the task at hand. So no matter how you figure out the task, as long as you can do it, you're good to go. Speedrunning is the perfect place to learn how you learn because the consequences of failure during this process are nothing. They're non-existent. In fact, it's encouraged. If you fail, you just don't do the trick or whatever you wanted to do. Now try again. Pay attention to something different. You begin to see how you have habits and certain modes of thinking. Visualize things in certain ways. What details help you understand what's going on? Like, what if I count how many spins my character does to gauge how long I move for? Maybe I can use the sound effects in the level to help determine when I should go do something. You learn the elements of a task in which you can relate with so that you can then understand it entirely. This may not make a lot of sense because I'm not a philosopher or anything and I don't speak English that good. What I'm trying to say is speedrunning can help you understand how you learn things. Something school itself usually overlooks. With the combination of visualizing your progress and instilling learning techniques, you can grow a kind of confidence that you can take to many challenges in real life. It helps you lock in an understanding of how to achieve your goals. This is at the core of the competitive reasons of speedrunning, which I really want to stress here are not like the myths of speedrunning mentioned before. Both the communal and the competitive reasons listed are just some of the reasons why you should get into speedrunning. Speedrunning is a hobby for everyone, and all of these reasons are connected to the heart of speedrunning, a strong love or interest for a game. So hopefully some of you may now realize, wow, this sounds great. I can start speedrunning. This actually sounds like a lot more fun than I thought it would be. But how do I do that exactly? How do I get started in speedrunning? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me show you the way. First of all, speedrun.com will be the place to get most of everything you need. If you ever hear people say SRC, they're referring to speedrun.com, by the way. This is the hub for basically all speedruns, from official releases to fan games to category extensions. The first thing you need to do is find the game you want to start speedrunning. So go to the search bar and type that favorite game of yours. Maybe a game you grew up with, a game that just looks cool, whatever you want. Then watch some runs. Don't just watch the world record run like I did. Watch runs from all across the leaderboard. Get a feel for what kind of stuff is generally done in the run and see if it's something you're intrigued by or fascinated with. There's a reason why I've been putting these names down here the whole video. It's so that you can look these guys up when you see something cool. So when you do find something that piques your interest, go to the guides and resources tabs. These will be the places where you can learn the runs, tutorials, practice mods, emulator setups. They should all be here. There are a few games where they instead have a website that has all the information there as well. So if it's looking a little barren, that could be why. Each speedrunning community is responsible for uploading their own. So if there isn't a guide for the game or the game just doesn't have a lot of runners in it, that's okay. Because the next thing you're gonna do is join the community's Discord. It's usually linked on the site. Very rarely do people use the forums tab, so just join the Discord. This is the place to meet people and they'll help you learn what to do. This is where the heart of speedrunning can usually be found. If there isn't a guide, maybe it just wasn't posted to SRC, yet it's in the Discord. Maybe the run is so straightforward, you can just watch someone else run it and get the gist for what's going on. It's really a case-by-case basis. Now, if by some wild chance that game you want to speedrun doesn't have an SRC page, then go to the help tab at the top of the website and go to requesting a game. I've honestly never done this before, but if you really want to pioneer a speed game and be the first to route and run it, then go ahead, I'm not gonna stop you. But I personally wouldn't recommend doing this if it's your first time speedrunning. It takes a lot to set up a speed game, and you should learn what running an established speed game is like first. So now, get settled in, meet some people, look at the tutorials, watch other runners when they stream the game. If you feel intimidated by what you're doing in the tutorial or getting annoyed at something not working when practicing, don't get discouraged. Go practice something else, or heck, go do something else in general. It's good to let it be for a little bit and come back to it when you aren't as frustrated and with a fresher mind. Some people make dog shit tutorials. I'm not gonna lie. But here's the thing, this is a rather humbling thing to say to yourself, but you gotta remember that you're just starting out and you're actually making progress even if it sometimes doesn't feel like it. If you stick with it for just a little bit longer, you will feel a sort of freedom that speedrunning can offer you, and you can show off the skills you've learned, which at the start seemed crazy to you, but now you can actually do them. Also, this may seem obvious, but please look at the rules tab on the website. This will explain everything you are allowed to do hardware-wise and what you're allowed to do in a run. Sometimes a game says, dude, fuck emulators. Some say, hey, go all out with them, we don't care. Sometimes games find a trick or a glitch that is so broken, they split the board so it caters to the community's tastes. Just be sure you're following the rules. It's to keep the integrity of the speedrun, and if you do accidentally make a boo-boo, then no biggie. The mods just won't accept your run, and they'll tell you why, so then next time you submit, it'll be accepted. It's not like you'll get banned for messing up one time. The rules are generally pretty straightforward, but it's important to still know them. It sucks when you have a really good run in something just for it to be denied because you accidentally forgot a rule. But if you can do it once, then you can do it again. Now, there's some other software you'll likely need. They're LiveSplit, which is the timer, and OBS, which is how you record the run. Small Ant has a great LiveSplit tutorial. I'll link it in the description. And if you can't get LiveSplit, a great alternative is this app called Frame Perfect. But honestly, any stopwatch app will probably do just fine. This guy uses Excel, so yeah, there's really no excuses here. For OBS, there are tons of tutorials, but I'll link one in the description for you as well. They're pretty easy to use, but if you really can't figure out these pieces of software, then just ask the community members. I'm sure someone will be able to help you. I'm an idiot who didn't grow up using computers all that much, and I figured it out with a little help. In terms of hardware, all you really need is the game, and if your game doesn't accept emulators, then you will need something to record your TV. But if they're picky, you need a capture card. These guys can get kind of expensive, but the community usually has recommended capture cards to use, which most of the time can be cheaper. You could also just ask what people use too, because trust me, it sucks when you buy a capture card that no one has heard of and it doesn't even work. That's what I did when I started. I was pretty annoyed. But when you're ready, you got everything set up, you learn the route you want to, it's time to do a single no reset attempt. If you mess up, that's okay. Just keep going and finish the run. If you're up to it, maybe stream so other community members can cheer you on and see the work you're putting in. Then boom, that's time. And you did it. You're a speedrunner now.
Mission complete. Your next mission is, well,
whatever you want, really. Maybe try and beat your time. I'm sure there's some room for improvement. Maybe you want to glitch hunt now that you understand kind of how the game works and just goof around trying things. Maybe there was some sort of tool that you thought was cool and you wanted to develop your own. Whatever you want to do, the choice is yours as long as you're having fun and enjoy playing the game. Now, here's some advice I think would have been nice to hear when I settled into my first speed game. First of all, don't be afraid to try other speed games. Heck, you may have already seen other community members play another speed game as well. It helps helps keep an interest in the hobby for a lot longer, and also learning different speed games can actually help you get better at other ones, even if they aren't the same kind of game. They can help change your perspective on how games work, what's fast and what's slow, you meet new people, I mean the list goes on and on and on. Furthermore, it's good to try runs so that you know what kind of speed runs you like. You may think a run looks really cool, but once you pick it up and play it, you may realize it's not as fun as you thought. It's always interesting to hear why speedrunners don't play certain games, and honestly, you could make a whole video talking about that subject. Another piece of advice that may apply to some of you who are more competitive. Be careful how you compare yourself to others. What I mean is, you'll look at other people's runs to see what they do so that you can implement or try certain strategies for your own run. And that's a good comparison to make, but don't make comparisons that will cause envy or loathing. Just because someone is better than you time-wise, that doesn't matter, because it's not about who's better or who's worse. It's about how much better you have gotten. I myself have been lost in the competition sauce, and it was pretty cringe looking back and seeing myself act that way because I was forgetting why I speedran in the first place and letting my ego really take over. So be better than me. Don't make the same mistakes I did. And that's basically everything I have to offer you. I hope this video helped you at least think about speedrunning in a new light. If there's anything to remember about this entire video, just remember the heart of speedrunning. Playing a game you love or have interest in a different and unique way. I just get so amazed by how much speedrunning has changed my life, and I just wanted to share that with you and maybe inspire you to have your own journey with the hobby as well. If just a single person watches this video and gets inspired just to try speedrunning, I will be very happy. And if you don't end up speedrunning because you found out it wasn't for you, that's all right. Being a spectator is fine too. At least you tried it, because most people stop right as they take the first step. If there are any veteran speedrunners or people who enjoy the hobby as much as I do, I would love to see your story in the comments below. I think it'd be pretty cool to get some people to express their own journeys as well. Also, in case anyone's interested, I'm thinking about starting a weekly stream I'm calling Speedrun Sundays, where I'll speedrun frights or other games I'm interested in, both on YouTube and on Twitch, usually around the afternoons. So if that's something you're interested in, or you want to personally ask me some things about speedrunning, be on the lookout for those streams. A lot of you guys seem to love it when I live stream, and I love doing it, so let's see how long I can keep the streak for until I miss a Sunday. Thanks for watching, guys.